Hi everybody and welcome back. In this video, we're going to be reviewing topic number 4 from Unit 3 in Math 1, which is all about sketching graphs. So now that we know all this information about finding important information by looking at a graph, we're going to go ahead and learn how to draw our own graphs that match a certain description. Sometimes you're going to have a description and you're going to need to sketch a graph that has those features. One piece of information you might be given is a point on a graph. When you see something like this, where it says f of 3 equals -4, this is telling you to graph a certain point. It's telling you that when x is 3, y is -4. So on this graph, to do this, I would go to where x is 3 and y is -4, and I would put a point here. And any graph that I draw would need to go through and touch that point. A second piece of information you might be given is the domain. When you're given the domain, don't forget that that's like the walls of the building. So on my graph, in order to make sure that I follow these directions, that my domain is from -2 to 5, I can help myself by drawing a wall at -2 and drawing a wall at +5. Now, when I draw my graph, it's going to be very important that you stay between the walls. And it's going to be very important that you touch both sides. So at some point, the graph has to touch the left and it has to touch the right, but it can't go past the edges. Think about this as like outlining a picture before you color it. You got to stay inside the lines. Another piece of information that we might be given is we might be given the range. Now, I want to remind you that when you're given the range, that's like having the floor and the ceiling. So in this case, because the range is -2 to 5, I would draw the floor at -2 and the ceiling at +5. Now, just like when we did domain, think about this as drawing the edges of the graph. And so you got to stay between the lines when you draw your actual graph. And you do need to touch both edges. So when you draw your actual graph, you're going to need to touch the top and touch the bottom at some point. Next, I could be told that I have an x-intercept of 5. Now, an x-intercept is where I cross the x-axis. So if I'm told I have an x-intercept of 5 on my graph, I would find the number 5 on the x-axis and put a point there. I need to make sure that then when I draw my graph, I actually touch that point or connect to that point. Last but not least, I might be told that I have a y-intercept of 5. Because a y-intercept is where you touch the y-axis, I would find the number 5 on the y-axis and put a point there. And I would make sure that any graph that I draw touches or crosses through that point. So the next thing that you guys are going to practice is actually drawing these types of graphs. An example would be like number 36, where it says f of 2 is -4 and the graph is always decreasing. By saying that f of 2 is equal to -4, I'm telling you that there is a special point on the graph at 2, -4. Next, it says that my graph is always decreasing. Now, decreasing means downhill. So when I draw my graph, I need to go through that point, and I also need to always be going downhill. So I would just draw a graph that goes downhill and connects to that pink point that I drew originally, and that would be my answer. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. The next thing you're going to do is try some practice problems with this idea.